All right, welcome everyone. I'm Rabbi Micah Streifer. I'm the founder and director of La Asok, and it is really nice to see all of you. It's really nice to be together and to be able to do a little bit of learning to find some tikvah through text. As all of you know, the idea here is just to spend half an hour studying something related to tikvah. And today I'm really very gratified and glad to be able to welcome my friend and colleague, Rabbi Emily Losben-Ostrov, who took this very seriously and actually found texts using the word tikvah, using the word hope. So without further ado, because we don't have a lot of time, I'll just turn things right over to Rabbi Emily Losben-Ostrov of Temple of Israel in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Thank you, Rabbi Streifer, and thank you for acknowledging that I'm at Temple of Israel, and because our friend and colleague, Rabbi Paula Goldberg, is here with us, I should also acknowledge that I grew up at Shirami in Newtown, Pennsylvania. So it's great to welcome everyone. Feel free, I always love to know who I'm teaching and learning with, and so feel free to put your name in the chat if you want and where you're from. And I also love to start with the prayer for Torah study, and so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. But please feel free to use the chat to make this interactive, and we'll also come off mute at various times as well. But so excited to see everybody here. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with this prayer, and I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger. And I invite you to, if you want to come off mute, and I'll say a few words at a time, and then you can repeat after me. I find that's the best way to try to say something together. So please feel free if you want to come off mute and repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Eloheinu melech haolam.
Eloheinu melech haolam.
Asher kichanu b'mitzvotav.
Asher kichanu b'mitzvotav.
V'tzivanu la'asok. B'divrei Torah.
B'divrei Torah.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with the words of Torah, and for that let us say, Amen.
Amen.
So, as Rabbi Streifer said, I am excited to talk about hope by actually looking at the word hope itself. So we're going to take an opportunity, if that's okay with everyone, to actually look at Hativah. And right now we've been singing that quite a bit. I know that we are, as everyone has shared, from all different states and different countries. It's great that we're all here together. And I know that that also, of course, means that we come together with various viewpoints, both of what is going on right now, Israel in general, and even what hope means. So I want to ask you to start to think about what hope is for you. Before we look at the Hatikvah, the national anthem of Israel, if you want to come off mute or put it in the chat, when you hear the word hope, what comes to mind? Miriam, I just saw you actively think. I saw the eyes go up, so I knew you were actively thinking. I appreciate that. And Sylvia's shaking her head. Sheila, I don't think that's real. Okay, I love it. So, oh, wow. Oh my goodness. I'm going to just share some of these things coming in. It's already giving me chills. Alfred, for you, hope is your disabled granddaughter. Wow. Belief that the future can be or will be better than the present. I think that could be an exact definition. Rabbi Streifer saying optimism, human abilities, looking ahead, a positive outlook. Peace. Wow. I like thinking about the word peace as a synonym for hope. When we think of, in Hebrew, tikvah or shalom, I love that. Faith and strong belief for better, an urge to make the world better, tikkun olam, possibilities. These are awesome answers. I want to thank everyone for getting in the mindset of hope. And so, as you know, Rabbi Streifer put together this incredible program of these texts and getting texts to help give us hope at this time when I think a lot of us need hope. whether we're talking about Israel in general, whether we're talking about the anti-Semitism that I know far too many of us are feeling, or dare I say, just regular life. If any of us are able to just focus on the regular, I appreciate you sharing about family, hope for ourselves, hope for those we love, our world. Some of you may be hoping to get better if you're dealing with any ailments, or I'm always hoping to win the lottery. But as the old joke says, I got to buy a ticket. Anyway, but whatever our hopes may be, let's turn it over to think a little bit about Israel, and also to think a little bit about a national anthem. I love that I'm talking to a mixed crowd here. It's I won't say interfaith, but can we say intercontinental? We're on the same continent. But anyway, when we think about the American national anthem or the Canadian national anthem, does that inspire hope in any of you? Or do you think that the national anthem speaks to you about what you're feeling for? And as you're thinking about that, and please feel free if anybody, I love seeing the heads shaking and nodding or disagreeing. As you think about your own national anthem, in a moment, we'll look at the text of Hatikvah as the Israeli national anthem. Anybody have anything you want to share about either the American or Canadian national anthem when you think about it? Oh, British. Okay, great. Miriam, one more. Not say that God save the Queen or King inspires much hope. Absolutely. I appreciate that we have another one. Oh, I like that. Okay, Rabbi Schreifer, that the Canadian national anthem makes you feel part of something bigger. And I would say that was also another way, a definition of hope. And I think that's a hope for us as a Jewish people, is to remember that we are part of something bigger, even if it's something as small as needing a minyan to have 10 people to pray, just that concept of always being part of something. And even, dare I say, the expression that when you have two people studying, God dwells among them. So all you need is one other person even to feel as you're part of this incredible nation. Anne mentions how the American one is very militaristic, absolutely, based, of course, from the battle, and Rabbi Goldberg mentioning that we persevere. Wow, these are great. I'm loving what everybody is writing. And Bob, thank you for sharing hope even in the dark of night. And I think in many ways, that's what we'll see when we think about Hatikvah. There's lots of people who like some things and don't like other things. This is a very, in some ways, controversial. For some people, other people, it speaks exactly to it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to look at the words. I'm sure most people are familiar with it, but let's go through either way. So here is Hatikvah. And again, as we look through these words, you'll see in the white, it's written in Hebrew, in yellow, transliteration, and the blue is the translation, which we will look at as well. So I have this on two different slides for us to go through, and feel free as we're reading through it, if there's anything that comes to mind, any comment, feel free to share with us. So, Kol od belevav penima, Nefesh Yehudi Homiya, Ulfate Mizrach Kadima, Ayin Letzion Sophia, Od Lo Avda Tikvatenu, Hatikva Bat Shenot Alpayim, Lihiot Am Chofshi, Be Artsenu, Eretz Sion V'Yerushalayim. So to go back, let's translate it all together, and then I want to break up a couple of these verses. So long as within the inmost heart, and again, of course, there's some variations on translations, but just to pick things out, Belevav, the lev, the heart. Nefesh Yehudi, a Jewish spirit sings. So long as the eye looks eastward, gazing toward Zion, our hope is not lost. The hope of 2,000 years to be a free people in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. All told, it's a pretty short passage here. So long as the inmost heart, a Jewish spirit sings, so long as the eye looks eastward, gazing toward Zion, Our hope is not lost. The hope of 2,000 years to be a free people in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. So let me just take a look at the chat, see what kind of initial thoughts. Okay, Susan, thank you. It speaks to you as part of your Jewishness. And if anybody wants to come off mute and elaborate a little bit, would love to hear if anybody wants to say anything more. And I'm not gonna, you don't have to share, but there might be some people who feel disconnected to Hatikvah. I want to recognize that as well. Oh, Dennis, I like that. As long as we hope, the hope is not lost. So this idea of circular, that the hope gives us hope, I want to say from what you're saying as well. Beautiful. Miriam shares the idea of the melody. And, you know, there's so much to be said about the melody. There's people who say that it comes from a drinking song. There's things that connect it to Mozart. There's actually some belief that it goes back actually 600 years of a similar prayer that was praying for the dew. So I love, we could talk just about the power of the melody, but I want to talk a little bit more about the power. Struggles and gives hope. You know, I feel that this song, this poem, these words are so relevant right now, given everything that's going on. But sometimes I could see thinking that when there was a better time in our land, in our homeland, that maybe it didn't feel that we needed to keep singing this. Do we need to remind ourselves? I mentioned I want to look at a few little expressions about Am Hoshi. Wow, what does it mean to be a free people? I mean, just that right there, to be a free people. Be'artsenu. I mean, those three words right there, free people in our land. Wow. I mean, it really gets to me in thinking about everything that's going on. If people follow it all with the social media, all the things we're seeing. I like seeing these great things come again in the chat. What does it mean? Actually, that's a great comment, Rabbi Goldberg. What does it mean to be free, right? So not just free as in able to have our own country or have our own land, but free from danger, free from strife. Another word to think of, I would say we talked about shalom or peace being a synonym for hope. Maybe freedom in some ways is a synonym as well. Another word obviously is looking back at this land of Artsenu, and of course looking at the word Zion. What do these words mean? And I find myself sometimes thinking, could any of this be construed as controversial in these days? Now, I come to you as a strong Zionist, and what does Zion mean? And I think it's something that we have to continue to remind ourselves and remind others that the word Zion is meant to be defined as the land of Israel, in the sense that it's the land given to us as Jews by God. And therefore, Zionism is the belief in the Jewish homeland, in the land of Israel given to us by God. So when somebody is speaking against Zion or speaking against Zionism, what they're saying is they're speaking against our belief or our view of a Jewish homeland in this land. And I don't want to get into politics or anything like that too much, other than the fact that I've clearly opened the door to that. And I think it does go hand in hand in talking. But want to really push on what it means to have this concept of hope connected to Zionism. Anybody want to share for me and anything that you think of specifically with the word hope and Zionism? Anybody want to come off mute? Thank you, Rabbi Streifer. I see you raising your hand, please.
I will. I just put it in the chat actually, but the notion of hope, I was responding to Dennis's comment that maybe this makes more sense as an anthem of return rather than an anthem of a settled nation. But I was thinking that, you know, that Israel in many ways is sort of like an unfolding hope, and we're still saying the Shana Haba Yerushalayim. We're still saying next year in Jerusalem, even though we're there, right? We're in Jerusalem, and we're still saying next year in, because it's more than just a return and now we're here. Like, I think there's still more work to be done, right? Like, to think about what it means to be Am Chofshi Ba'artzeinu, a free people in our land. We're not there yet. What Israel is today is amazing and wonderful, and not yet what Israel needs to be. And so the idea that we have to have hope of something in the future, to me, is still, it's still there.
Beautiful. And that is a comment and criticism of the song for sure, is that it speaks more to exactly what you're saying, that it's about gathering us inward, and speaks more of us looking to Israel from wherever we are, as opposed to being there and celebrating that this is the land. It's very different if you think about it from like the American national anthem, which was written after we'd already been a country, versus this that came before. The poem, just so many people probably know, is written by Naftali Hertz Imber, and originally wrote it in 1878. And there is actually 7 stanzas, and they're very fascinating to look at. Anne, please, if you want to unmute yourself, and then Karen.
I think without hope, we would never have come this far. If you think about that, like Jeremiah, when Babylon conquered Israel and destroyed the temple, all you had was hope. And we go forward. We just go forward.
Beautiful. There's a version, at the end of this, I do want to play a modern take that was just written, a really powerful song that I think that was written, but there's also, some of you may have heard, and if not, I'll also try to play it, of almost what was called a chorus of skeletons who sang this in Bergen-Belsen. And when you think about how people got through the Holocaust, had to have been with hope. And if we have hope, maybe that's what we need to get through anything. And maybe hope is really the definition of what it means to be a Jew. Maybe that's, in one word, to be a Jew is to have hope in a better world, to have hope in peace, to have hope in our faith, to have hope in our future. Karen, please, if you'll unmute yourself.
So I understand and appreciate the power of a national anthem to, the power of music and poetry to stir emotions in us. But I also share Rabbi Micah's concern about how exclusive Hatikvah can be seen to be, and that it is, yes, Israel is a Jewish state, but it is the lyrics, at least of that verse that we know and sing as the anthem, are exclusive to, many of the words are exclusive to Jews. And I guess I wonder, and maybe some of these other versions that you alluded to, Rabbi, I'm wondering if, so in Canada, we have changed some of the words to "O Canada" over the years. And right now there's a bit of a heated conversation going on about how we should change our home and native land to our home on native land. We changed the words to "in all our sons command" to in all of us command. So I'm wondering if there is any kind of impetus to add another verse that would be more inclusive of the other people who make Israel home.
What a great question. I'm going to show you, let me show you 2 other suggested lyrics for it. And I do want to also acknowledge, as you said, Karen, 20% of Israel's population isn't Jewish. So what does that mean when the national anthem of a country talks about a Jewish spirit? And we're not just talking, obviously, about Arabs, but Christians and Druze, as well as lots of other religious people who are there. And then, of course, you have some of the ultra-Orthodox who don't feel comfortable singing the song for various reasons in terms of being offended by some of the language. It doesn't mention the word God. Should God be mentioned? That's another thing to bring up, which is a whole nother concept too, in talking about how we relate Tikvah, hope, and God. Where is God in our hope? The song is both, it seems to be very religious, but if you again look at the words, it talks about us as a religious people, but not the religion stuff. Let me show you this slide. And I want to give you a homework. No, there's no official homework, but Karen and anyone else who wants to do it, I would love to see what you would come up with. Either A, if you change some of these lyrics to be even more fitting for you, unless anyone says, nope, nope, it's perfect, no change needed. Or if you completely wrote your own version of what you think should either be a song based on hope or a song about that should be the national anthem for Israel, which you bring up great points. How can Israel's national anthem speak to the country if it is excluding a certain percentage of the people? And that's what makes Israel such a wonderful place. Is it is a homeland for us, but it is truly a country where everybody should be welcomed. And of course that goes into another conversation, but that's definitely a big part of my hope, is that Israel is both a Jewish homeland and a true democracy. So let me, Susan, I'm going to pull up my screen while you go ahead, please share.
Well, I was just listening to this and thinking, maybe Hatikvah is the national anthem of Zionism, but not necessarily, as you said, the national anthem of Israel.
Interesting. And to that point, you know, I've also been thinking, we've been singing it every Friday night at our Shabbat worship services over the last 5 weeks or so. And it doesn't seem wrong to end services with Hatikvah if you listen to the words. What sometimes does feel a little weird is to end services with a national anthem. Just happening to throw that out there. So these were some texts that I had found. So if you see Rav Kook, who was the first chief rabbi of Israel, he thought that the lyrics should be eternally living within our hearts, the faith, the loyal faith to return to our holy land, the city where David settled. To me, that seems very different than what we have. And the original lyrics were, our hope is not yet lost, the ancient hope to return to the land of our fathers, the city where David encamped. And of course, we have our hope is not yet lost, the hope of 2,000 years to be a free people in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. So we could obviously just play around with that as well. I find the 2,000 years a little bit problematic because it's over 2,000 years and I want to at least add in over, or I want the song to continue, but that's just me being a little picky in there. But and what does that mean to you know, obviously to the point I believe it was Anne or Karen who made about not just saying our land of our fathers. I think that was good that we changed that, because to me that is exclusionary, our fathers and our mothers, or our ancestors. But here we have, they kind of took that out just to be a free people in our land. So I want you to hold on to that. And as Rabbi Streifer promised, I do want to at least show one other text. I had a few texts to share of other places that we see the word tikva in our text, and maybe some of the other rabbis who will be teaching over the next couple of weeks may think of that as well. But what caught me, one of the ones that caught me is actually Ruth. And if you're familiar with the story of Ruth, then you know that Ruth actually talks about losing hope, or should she have hope? So here we have in the first chapter, when she sends her daughters-in-laws off, she says to them here, if you'll see in verse 10, let me make that bigger, hopefully you can all see that. Sorry, didn't, here we go. Here we see, starting in verse 10, she says, we have them wanting to return with you to your people. Naomi says, "Turn back, my daughters. Why should you go with me? Have I any more sons in my body who might be husbands for you?" And sorry, I think I said the name Ruth when I meant saying Naomi before, but this is in the book of Ruth. So here again, Naomi is saying, "Turn back, my daughters, for I am too old to be married. Even if I had thought there was hope for me, even if I were married tonight and bore sons, should you wait for them to grow up? Should you on their account debar yourselves from marriage?" So for those of you familiar, of course, here we have the word tikva right in the verse right here. But in many ways, to me, this is a story about hope, because even though Naomi seems to give up all hope, Ruth helps inspire her to have hope. And of course, through that hope that Naomi was ready to get rid of, she became, as we know, Mara, she became bitter and seemed to have lost hope. But in many ways, Ruth helped give her that hope to keep going on. And of course, we say that the future Messiah will come through that line. I cannot believe, Rabbi Streifer, how fast this 30 minutes went. That is insane. I am out of time, and I have 3 more texts I could share, 2 more songs. Though I would love, before I officially end, I'm going to close it so I can be on time and respect everyone's time. And then if you want to stick around with me for another minute or 2 or 3, actually, to hear this modern take of Hatikvah, would love for you to listen. I just want to thank you all. I know I gave you unofficial homework. I'm going to put my email in the chat. If anybody wants to follow up with me, I would love to see what you have to share on that. And would love if you have any questions or anything like that. But I must end in the last few moments by saying that my tikva, my hope for all of us, is not only that we will take this opportunity to continue to study our texts, but also my hope is that, as you all pointed out, that we continue to have hope, and that the greatest hope is hope. And so I would say that tikva shel tikva, hope with hope, and that we, as you beautifully said before, Anne, or allowed me to come together, that it is with our hope that we are a people. Not just that our hope sustains us, but it is our hope that allows us to be a people, to allow us to have faith, and to, God willing, have a future filled with hope in that beautiful circular way that I believe Dennis mentioned. As we go forth, may we go forth in hope to learning. May we go forth in hope to shalom, to peace. And let us say, Amen.